Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple more questions. Let me follow up, Mr. Cooper, on the subject matter that Senator Markey raised. You're not responsible for the decision, and I understand the senator's view about making a statement with the administration and getting them to change course, which I share in terms of getting them to share a course. But I want to know more for the purposes of your nomination. Do you believe that the publication of these blueprints for internet publication of blueprints for the manufacture of 3D printed plastic firearms is a significant threat to U.S. security interests both at home and abroad?
Thank you, Senator. Any proliferation of information that would chip away or degrade our national security, or actually our technology, so our technology primacy is of issue. I understand in this particular case that on the computer-aided design, that as far as unique technologies, that was an issue. However, there are broader whole-of-government aspects to this that go beyond a particular unique intelligence or unique technologies.
Okay. This is, let me just share with you, because I'm favorably inclined to your nomination, but this is where nominees get in trouble. I understand your answer that any proliferation, I get it. But I'm asking you specifically. I'm not asking you about the policy. I'm not asking you about the administration's decisions. I want to understand how you, if I vote to confirm you sitting in that position, will think and advocate. As I asked Mr. Richmond about things, if he's sitting there and there are other considerations, how he will think and advocate. That's the only way in which I can judge a nominee at the end of the day. Because once I vote for you and you're confirmed, then we're off to the races. So let me try to, once again, with that preface, do you, if the injunction that presently exists is lifted, there's an injunction by a federal judge. Let's say that injunction is lifted. You're confirmed and you're sitting in the PM Bureau. Would you advocate to suspend the regulations to allow 3D gun production information to be distributed worldwide to terrorists, extremists, and criminals?
Senator, thank you. If confirmed, it'll be incumbent upon me, and I would push to ensure non-proliferation. It's not just large weapon systems, it is small weapon systems. And as I said, I've been a personal recipient on the opposite end of such weapons, so I would be a strong advocate to ensure non-proliferation. So that is inclusive of small weapons.
Okay. And would you specifically, and I appreciate your service and the harm that you put yourself in defense of the nation, would you specifically also, as part of that proliferation, say that the internet protocols that creates 3D gun production is among that proliferation?
There are, Senator, it's not exclusive to a particular platform. To be fair, to answer your question, it would be not limited to internet download.
Would it include, I didn't say was it exclusive of?
It could be inclusive of, sir, Senator, yes.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to help you. Let me go back to Mr. Richmond. I think that your depth of knowledge is incredibly great. It's one of the better nominees that we've had. This both set that we've had before the committee, but I want to focus on two things. Prosecution is incredibly important, but I want to get your commitment to this committee that prevention and protection of victims is also going to be an equal emphasis if you are confirmed.
Thank you, Senator. The paradigm that has been used by the United States and has been embraced around the world is for a 3P paradigm: prevention, protection, and prosecution. And instead of them being three silos, I think they're really three legs of the same stool. They're all necessary and they're interconnected. When we prosecute perpetrators, it is essential that survivors get services. In order to reduce vulnerabilities, we reduce the number of individuals who might be likely to be trafficked. All these things fit together and are essential. The criticism of an overemphasis of prosecution, I don't think is borne out by the numbers. There's a chronically low number of prosecutions, especially in labor trafficking cases. And I think we need to increase those prosecutions. But we need to do it in a way that also highlights the fact that we have to have robust, tailored, and holistic survivor services that can care for people who have experienced trauma, as well as education and awareness efforts. There's been a comment that awareness campaigns don't rescue anyone, but the reality is no one is helped or rescued without awareness first coming. And so I would be committed, if confirmed, to a holistic approach.
Okay, I appreciate that, because I'm not a critic of prosecution. On the contrary, I embrace it. But I also understand there's three legs to the stool, and we need to equally apply the other two. Finally, Central America. Just let me hear briefly what your view is about the Central America crisis, because I want to know the narrative that you will bring to this job as it relates to those who are fleeing from Central America and who are enormously can be exploited in trafficking, and many are.
Thank you, Senator. I've worked many cases with victims from Central America, and it's been a keen area of interest of mine for some time. I think that robust engagement with Central America, particularly the Northern Triangle, although I think it's to everyone's detriment not to include Belize in that discussion, given its porous border with Guatemala and close connection to Honduras. I think each of these countries are essential, and to have, both through our bilateral engagements regarding the Trafficking in Persons report and the narrative, as well as international programming efforts to bolster government's ability to answer that question I mentioned earlier, to actually deliver on the protections of law to the individuals, are essential in building up civil society's response in order to care for survivors.
I just hope that you'll keep, if you're confirmed, you'll keep the narrative honest, because many people fleeing Central America, their choice is to stay and die or flee and have a chance at living. And those who get trafficked along the way, they need to be protected just as much as anybody else. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.